Hello everyone and welcome to Road to Forex, where we discuss everything in relation to the foreign exchange. Of course, I'm your host Alex, so without further ado, let's get stuck into today's episode. Now, I promised you a few more interviews and I wanted to go over this one as well with you, just quickly giving you a bit of an introduction. Again, if you're expecting, amazing sound quality, it's not. It's recorded over Zoom, so there is that. And also, Knoxy has been a long-term friend of mine. So for those of you that don't really like swearing or anything along those lines, it only happens a few times, but definitely a few words come up. Again, we don't BS here in Road to Forex, so it is a real conversation with a real person, regardless of whether he's my friend or not. So I'm not going to edit that out. Just wanted to make sure for those of you that aren't really interested in that kind of thing that you've got a second to click off. Again, only happens a few times, but hey, it's there. And I just wanted to make sure you guys were all right with that. Now, the reason why I have brought Knoxy on to this podcast is simply because some of you that I know who listen to this are people that go away onto oil rigs, for example. People that are away from their families quite a lot. People that work full time. Now, Stephen, our first interviewee, was not like that. He could dedicate a whole amount of time to it and has had a lot more experience within the world of Forex. But I realized that he only speaks for a portion of some of you, whereas this guy here is a beginner. And I wanted to get a beginner's, outlook on Forex, and also a beginner who is working a full-time job. Now, as you're going to get a bit of background on here, I'm not going to go over it too much, but Knoxy works an incredible amount of hours in the week. So I wanted to really get his perspective on it to see how he actually handles that work-life balance. Whether he thinks that with a 9 to 5, he can actually go in and do Forex on the side or have Forex in a career or whatever his goals are. Can he actually do that? And as someone who works a 9 to 5, how does he fit it in? What are the keys to success for him? Because he's about 6-7 months into his journey now. What is he doing that might be good for you guys? Or also, he might sound like he's in your position. For those of you that do work on the oil rigs, for those of you that are working insane hours, for those of you that are working 2 jobs, is Forex right for you? I'm going to get your perspective. Well, I'm going to get a perspective of someone that does those hours, that has to manage his work-life balance extremely well to do anything on the side, and we'll go and we'll have a chat with him. So we'll get in depth, see what's going on. If you're thinking, it's going to be another Stephen interview, remember we're coming at this from a completely different angle. Different scenarios, different person, different background, different life. So just keep an open mind to it, see what happens there, and see his insights into this. Because for me, it's really cool to see that. I haven't been a beginner for a very long time. So for me, zoning into this and asking these questions, it was really good. From here on out, I do plan to get some actual, traders involved who are successful, who actually, do really well, and then we'll have the complete picture from aspiring trader to beginner trader to professional, and then we can move on through there and make sure that I always give you guys a mix of it, because I think those guys that are going out there and just interviewing professional traders, awesome, that's great, well done you. I listen to those podcasts, there's some really good ones, but we're the working man's Forex podcast here. We actually want to make sure that all the demographics are covered. And this is going to be it. So sit back, relax, listen to this chat with me and Moxie. It's more like friends talking to each other. And I think you'll get some really good insights. Anyway, guys, I'll see you at the end. All right, thank you for joining us, Knoxy. Do you want to give us a little bit of introduction, a bit of background on yourself?
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me, Briggsy. I appreciate it, mate. So I'm currently 30 years old, almost 31. Known you for way too long. And I'm a mining engineer. So I work out in the mines doing pretty much week on, week off, 12 to 13 hour days. So not a lot of free time when I'm out there. But when I'm at home, obviously get that whole week off. So that's pretty good as well. But been doing that for coming on 6 years now. So no, it's good fun. But yeah, I'm like obviously learning a lot of this, or wanting to learn a lot of this from you, just because I want that second source of income. And I've looked at a few other things over the years, and like anyone, like you try and find that like quick buck, but like a lot of the time obviously it doesn't work out. But I've tried to put my head down a few of them, and they never interested me as much as I guess Forex does.
Yeah.
Like understanding how it all works takes a long time, but just analysing it, it's really cool. Just try and figure out a trend, and when you find that one, you're like, oh Jesus, it's just gone from a 2 times to a 9 times. And I think when I was doing back testing, I told you I found like an 11 times one, which is like a blue moon. So that was pretty cool to see. But yeah, that's just kind of like the general basics of me at the moment.
Yeah, cool. Just touching on that, because I think I've said something that's quite similar to you in like my journey to here, because I was doing, as you know, like drop shipping and stuff. I think yours was that Amazon FBA kind of deal. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Yeah, and that just like in comparison to Forex, and this is what I found anyway, the amount of like upfront costs and like faff around and all that stuff that you didn't expect with advertising and inventory and all that kind of jazz, it just made it so much harder to get a handle on.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and I think I ended up putting like maybe 10 to 12,000 into it over the course of like I reckon like a couple of 2 to 3 years. And if you ask me what my returns are, I probably made like half that.
Yeah.
And then it just the time to do that as well. You have to learn all of these things, from like finding a product, what's going to work, to then you got to source a supplier in China or India, wherever that might be. You then figure out actually how Amazon works and all the algorithms, and doing PPC, which is advertisement stuff. Like it was just so much, and I learned a lot, but it never came to fruition. Like I've always found there's someone out there who had a bit more money than you, who could spend a bit more, and that was the hardest thing. So I guess when you start doing this, and obviously you've told me about it over years, and now seeing you really teaching and going somewhere with it, it's like, oh fuck, like Breezy could do it, I can do it, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. It makes it seem that easy. But I think that
nah, you've done a good job, mate. So it's definitely really good to like have you teach me, and like I'm enjoying it so far. So you should pat on the back for you, that's for sure.
I appreciate it, mate. I appreciate it. I think one of the points that I was going to talk about there is because at the start you said, I was looking for that part-time income kind of deal. And this is what I've found as well in terms of, doing that drop shipping or Amazon FBA and then coming on to Forex. How did you, I'll answer it after you. How did you find the difference? Did you find like when you started to do this, you could actually see that, you could work this full 9 to 5 and actually still, study Forex and do all this stuff, and it could be a side gig and you wouldn't use as much time? Or did you feel like the FBA was more suited to, you working full time than part time doing that? What was the difference? What did you find there?
Nah, I found FBA, there was just so much to do. Like you just had to be watching stuff or trying to find things. Like there's so much more information out there and to get on top of. Like it was really tough. With this, so like it was good. Like I've said it to everyone actually, because I sit at work, so I work with my laptop all the time. I sit with the screen on and just like trading view on all the time, which is just cool just to look at the charts. And so people ask about that, and I say to them like a few things. Obviously my best mate teach me, which is great, but all I spend besides that really is TradingView. Got a deal on like a year membership with them, so you can get all the indicators. But to get an account, like it costs you nothing to get a demo account, and like from there I've probably played with like 3 different demo accounts. I haven't fully burnt out a few of them, just playing around with them, but just to get the idea of how it all works. And now I've probably been doing this with you on and off like 6 months maybe.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So now like I'm getting to the stage where I'm starting to see stuff. Obviously I find the hardest thing sometimes is like backtesting's great because you can just follow it. You sit there and you just follow it, and you're like, damn, I can do this. But when you're actually watching it, sometimes you go, shit, is that something there? Even if he's trying to stick to the strategy, like shit, maybe that is something oh no, I won't do it, or I will jump in and you lose. But if you really stick to your strategy in particular, I find like it's all good. But sometimes me personally, I get a bit gun ho and I get excited. I'm like, oh, I'm sick of waiting around. That looks like something. Yeah, let's just do it anyway. And like 9 out of 10 times, you're gonna lose those.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's really dumb. Like, I think I can control my emotions pretty well in regards to this. I understand you win and lose, but it's the situations that you jump into without actually having a good think, or just going, oh yeah, whatever, I'll just jump in. Like, they're the ones that get you. So I think you'll find, like, once I do put a certain amount of money in there, I'd like to say my emotions would be a bit more under control, but yeah, you just don't know. You just got to practice.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. Everyone always underestimates like the emotional, maybe it's not strain, but definitely can be for some people, but the emotional impact, trading can have on you. It's like, this might have been you at the start. It was definitely me at the start. I know personally, I was like, if I just get a strategy, I'll just implement it. But then these things like pop up where you go, oh, I feel really good about this trade, and you hop in, and just like you said, it's not part of the strategy, and 9 times out of 10, you're just going to blow it, and you kind of just sit there going, why did I do that? Why did I actually hop into that trade? You're very annoying.
Yeah, it is.
I guess just moving on from that, because although you're 6 months in, relatively, I guess in comparison to me, newer, from your first initial perception of Forex to where you are now, could you reel some things off the top of your head that, you heard about it, but then you came into Forex and, this surprised you, or this wasn't true at all? Is there anything that sticks out to you when you did actually start trading that you thought, oh, this isn't how I thought it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be really, really complicated. But actually, I guess how you've taught and explained to people, like, I'm an engineer, but it doesn't mean I'm smart. So how you've summed it up, like, you've dumbed it down really well. And that's not an insult to anyone, like, you're teaching. Like, it's great, because, like, the simpler the better. It means anyone can learn it. So when I started doing it, I was like overwhelmed, like, what is this? What is that? And I was shooting you 100 questions a minute.
Oh yes, I do remember that.
But over time, it's just come, like anything, it's a new skill. You start learning, and go, oh, actually, this isn't hard to do. It's just repetition. And I guess you just got to have that mindset where you just got to keep going at it. So yeah, besides that though, like, everything else has been pretty, like, I'd say simple. Like, once you get the initial startup going, like, it may take you a week to figure out the basics and understanding how your trades work, and then obviously the broker you're going with, if your chart's moving to a certain value, like, wherever you enter for a buy and sell is never going to be exactly the same, and just moving all your stop losses and where you enter around to accommodate for that. So things like that took me a while. Like, I found a few times I was losing out because I was putting my on trading view, my stop loss and my take profit and where I thought I was entering, but I didn't realize it was, for instance, like, a few pips higher or lower, and I'd lose. And I'd go, what the hell's going on? So but simple stuff like that, like, it's a lot simpler overall, I think, than people really realize. It's just a time commitment. That's all it is.
Yeah, 100%. And that is a really good point that you bring out there, especially the time commitment. I find, and this might be a lot of the viewers here because of some of the emails that I get in, it's kind of like, oh, how fast can I flip an account? Or, how soon can I be a professional trader? Whereas if you just focus on actually more along the lines of what you're doing, which you have done from the start, is, I want to get the broker down and then understand that. And then I want to understand trading view. Now I want to understand stop losses. And you've gone piece by piece by piece by piece. And that's where the point that you are now at, everything that you've learned, you've already got under your belt, and then you're becoming that whole package trader piece by piece, rather than going, oh, I'm just going to go in and just learn everything as quick as I can and then just smash it out. So
yeah, great.
I think that's a really good mindset to have in terms of that, for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think you find, like, no matter where you go and what you do, or wherever you're trying to make side income or any income, like, people always try and go for that quick buck. And I think no matter I guess how young or old you are, you just need to realise that there's no such thing as that. Obviously, people made money all around the place, but with this, it does take time. It really does.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But as you've seen, and what you were talking about in one of the first things that you mentioned, finding those risk to reward ratios of, a 1 to 3, a 1 to 4, a 1 to 6, a 1 to 7, whatever it may be, the ability that once you've put in that hard yards, once you've put in that time, the ability for you to actually make that money that everyone's searching for is there. It's kind of like how I described it to some of my family is like, oh, now you're successful, Alex. And I was kind of like, well, it's an overnight success that took, for me personally, because I didn't have a mentor or anything, years to like build up and to actually get here. So now I can earn that money, but it's only because I've put in that time commitment and all that effort to actually get there, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, man. Like you spent, was it 7 years now you've been doing this or trying to learn it?
It will be. It will be 7 years.
Yeah, it's taking you this amount of time to get where you are, and I would have to call you a professional now. What you do,
appreciate it.
Yeah, but everything else, it just takes time. And so I guess people trying to come in and learn this, like my advice is like from a guy who works 12, 13 hours a day and then has a week off, so he doesn't even want to do this sometimes. Like, just got to commit a couple of hours here and there. I try and do at work at least half an hour a day on and off, just looking at stuff. I may even, if I'm doing back testing, just get through 1 week, as it's pretty quick, easy to do. But that's all I might do in a day or two sometimes. And so, but when I'm at home again, I do find there's a lot of things that I want to do as well. But you just got to realize like where are your priorities. Like if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And if you're prioritizing going sitting there watching Netflix or going and doing something else, like it's just not a priority for you. So you just need to have a sit down and realize, is this for me or is this not for me?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think you bring up something that's really good. And I like that you're saying this because for everyone that listens, Knoxy's always listening to every single episode, and I'll occasionally get some feedback on it, whether he's just taking the absolute piss out of me or being really nice. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I'm always going on about that, you have to put in the effort, you have to put in the work. Like, maybe I haven't used the words prioritize, and it's good to have Knoxy on here to actually explain that, but as he said, he's working, or you're working, Knoxy, 35 hours in a week and being underground sometimes.
A lot more than that.
Oh, well, there you go. Even more than that. 35 hours. Yeah, for sure you do more.
I do. In 7 days is, 84 hours?
84 hours, yeah, which is ridiculous.
Probably more up to 90 because I end up staying back a lot of the time as well. So
which is crazy. And I know, and I was saying this to you before, that we've got guys that work on oil rigs that listen to this and work on the pipelines, and they're out and they'll be away from their families for like 2 or 3 weeks, and they do similar things to you where it's just like these guys, including you, are doing huge amounts of hours during the week, like an insane amount, but you'll get back, and even though you don't want to do it, you'll put in that half an hour, even if it's like 15 minutes or whatever you do, just to make sure that later on when this does get up and you can actually use it as part-time, you're going to be able to reap the rewards from that and be able to, I don't know, maybe sit back, use it however you want, but you have the ability to then to actually, make life decisions based off that.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that.
100%. I think the second thing that I really wanted to cover, because this is the thing that I always talk about, is back testing. I'm always going on about it and saying like, you guys need a back test, you should already know your win percentages, you should know that. In terms of back testing for you, and I know it's a really broad topic and we can hop into it, how important do you feel it's been for your growth as a trader, or at least your understanding of my strategy and the markets?
Oh, ridiculous. Like, it doesn't matter, I think, what strategy you use, but you have to backtest. You can't just run off a live chart all the time. Because if you're new to a particular, like, so I still say I'm a very inexperienced and new to this, so if I just like go off live charts, it's a guessing game almost, really. Like, you think you may see something, but if you don't understand anything, like you don't understand how it works, then it's not going to be practical. It's like when you learn a skill, go to university or do a trade and you become a builder or a carpenter or whatever it may be. It takes time to perfect that, and it's all about practice. So the fact that you've got, trading view or whatever you may use there to go back and back test, like, it's so easy to get onto and do, and it's so important to do at the same time. So I couldn't recommend it more, to be honest. You're not going to get anywhere, like, and this is 100% my opinion, you're not going to get anywhere with this Forex trading if you don't do it.
Yeah.
No matter who you are.
100%. And I really wanted to say that because I'm always going on about it, and I know from the last interview that I did, people are just like, oh, it's good to have another person on there, and it's good to actually hear, even if it is a bit biased because obviously we've been mates and you are my student, that you're actually, figuring that back testing is that most important thing. Well, one of the most important things to understand for sure. So that's really good. We've already covered in terms of that, back testing and, how much your work can give you a bit of an introduction here. I guess on a personal level, what's one of the things that, you've actually struggled with in terms of either understanding my strategy or Forex? Has there been anything that you've gone, okay, this is different to anything else I've encountered? Obviously, whether you're doing mining or whatever it is, or when we're working at Richie's together, there's always going to be that individual thing that's going to be really weird. But what's that one thing you found in Forex where you go, this is actually, this is the challenging thing for me?
To be honest, for me, the whole thing's challenging for me. Like, in all honesty, as I said, I'm still very new to this and new experience, so I guess the aspect of actually just learning it and getting better and better and better. And I keep saying it's a new skill and you just got to keep doing it to get better at it. So yeah, it's to me, it's like, it's a constant challenge, but it's rewarding when you see it pay off. When in the long run, obviously you start using real money to build an account in the portfolio. And at the moment, I'm still using demo accounts to play around with, and then my transition over the next 6 months to putting X amount of dollars in there. So, but yeah, it's just like at the moment, I love it when I see something pay off, and I'm just like, holy shit! Like that was like a 2-3 times I just made, and then I've got 2 trades going at once, so then it becomes from 2 goes to a 5 because you go to 2 times and 3 times, and you're just like, yeah, that shit feels good. So, like, it's really good that aspect. Obviously, when you lose, like, I find it very easy, I guess, when I lose a trade to pretty quickly reflect on what I did wrong. Like 9 out of 10 times at the moment, because like this last week in particular, I've just kind of done it on the go and haven't paid too much attention. And when I go back, if I see if I've lost or if I've won, did I win based on the strategy or did I win on luck? So I like to look at that, and then if I've lost, to go, all right, what happened here? Yep, you shouldn't have done this. You should have done that instead. Even though it says this, you've only got one of the checklists of the rules ticked when there should be at least 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I kind of feel about it.
Okay, so you feel like that reflection period for you, I don't know if you're doing it with journaling. I know you definitely were doing it at the start, but that reflection period for you, looking at the trades that you've had, is something that is that maybe not a game changer, but something that's definitely improving your trading?
Yeah, without a doubt. Like, I work on computers all day, so a spreadsheet is great. I love it, an Excel spreadsheet. Now I've set up a back testing spreadsheet, which has got every single pair in it. And you can imagine there's, what have we got, like 15 or odd pairs there. So I'm slowly working through them. So I'll do like 6 months at a time. And then from there, just see what happens. So like, it's just like, it's good fun to see how it goes, and you've got a ratio of what you're winning, what you're losing. I add comments in to see what happened, not trying to put myself down if I lose. It's just about, all right, this is what you should do instead. And little things like that. So that's kind of my journal. It's very similar to how you had it as well. So based on your bones, and then just build it up from there. Yeah,
cool. No, I really like that. I think a good thing for everyone to take away from what you're saying as well is I kind of want everyone's mindsets to be like yours. Now, obviously, we've touched on, emotions and how to control them, what to look out for, and you're already aware that, oh, I shouldn't be hopping in this trade because it's just luck or it's not this, I need to have these things. But having that ability to remove your emotions or at least lessen them, because that's what it sounds like you're doing at least, do you think that has been, really beneficial for you? Or would you say, actually, Alex, you're wrong, I'd really actually like to have the emotions in my trading? How do you see them in the world of your trading, emotions, that is?
Oh, well, I think it's one of the first lessons or things you talk about. Like, you've got to be emotionless when you trade. Trade like a computer, really. Otherwise, if you see you're losing or if you're winning and you're getting scared that it might turn for it, you pull out too early when you could have made a lot more than you originally thought. And then also, if you're not doing it by the book, you can end up also, if you go, oh yeah, I'm going to go for a 1 to 2 trade and you pull out at 1.5, well, you're not really getting the full amount or the full potential. And so you're never really getting that 1 to 2, it's always 1.5, which obviously hurts your finances because you're not getting that full amount. But if you're constantly playing cautiously because of your emotions, and in the long run, in the future, call it like a year of doing it like that, like you're probably missing out on something like 20 to 30% even higher of gains that you could have made because you keep doing things like that. So over the small amount of trades that you do, when you're doing these smaller, I might take my money here or I might pull out there. Yeah, you may win. I guess you come out on top with the losses because you're pulling them out slightly early. But in the long run with your gains, you're never going to be able to actually make the full amount that you could have if you just left it in there.
Yeah, 100%. I totally get that. So that's a big thing about risk management, is basically what you're going over there is making sure that you're letting that trade run and actually doing what it needs to do, rather than going, hey, as you said, I'm basically ruled by emotions. I'm playing too cautiously. I'm going to hop out at that 1.15. And it's cool that even you come to that basically in your own conclusion is, that's not the way to trade, because realistically, even though you are playing cautiously and you're making sure you're not losing, you're surely not winning either. Like, you're getting done in at the end of the year, as you said, like 40, 50%. Who knows how much money you're actually losing out on at the end when you actually are trading like that. So really, really good point that you picked up on there for sure. I guess one of the other things I want to talk about with you, because I think a lot of people are going to be in your situation where you're working 9 to 5. Obviously, you're more in the extreme where you're working a ton of hours. We've talked about prioritization, and you're just a guy that goes for it anyway. Could you give anyone or the viewers, the listeners, whatever it is, some advice about how you handle your work-life balance? Because yours is extreme, but even then, it'd be really good for everyone to hear, how you actually go, okay, here's Forex, here's my work and life in between. How do I actually manage it all?
Yeah, I guess, as I said earlier, I'm fortunate that I work at a desk majority of the day. So I have 3 screens in front of me, and one of them pretty much has TradingView going all the time. Doesn't necessarily mean like I'm always on it watching it. It just means it's ticking along. And if I see something, like I might actually only look at it once an hour just for 5 minutes or so, just to skim through all the pairs. So I'm fortunate in that aspect to have it there, but I can tell you right now, it doesn't mean I'm always on top of what's going on at all. Yeah. My work is busy and I'm always up and down at the desk doing different things, so flat out with that. But then I get home after work and sometimes I try and jump on the charts on my phone if I'm not too tired or if I have time. Sometimes I'll go play sport or sometimes I just want to watch something as you do after a long day. So I try and manage it like that, but sometimes I said you just lack it.
Yeah.
So that's why I could potentially be ahead if I had more time. But just like anyone doing a 9 to 5, you go home, you cook dinner, you look after your kids, and by that time you could be 8 o'clock or so, and now you just want to sit back and do nothing. You don't want to sit there and study. So it comes down to, like, I guess, how determined you are to make it work. And so when I'm home in particular, as I said, I've got just under a week off when I come home, and I don't want to spend my time at my computer.
Yeah.
At all. So I have to really knuckle down and go, yeah, I need to do this now. Like, I'd rather be out, spending time with my partner, or going outside doing different activities, going for a couple beers, whatever it may be. So, yeah, sometimes you just got to commit to doing it, and even just spend an hour or so doing that. So it's just about finding that time and just allocating it. And as I said right at the start, if it's important to you, then you will find the time to do it.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, that touches on a lot of really good points there, because I think there's people in two camps the way I see it. They either think, I can just do, a minimum hours, get a lot of work, which I think is unrealistic, and whereas I can put in minimum hours and it's just going to take me a bit longer. I'm not saying you're doing minimum hours or anyone else is, but it's a realistic view, and obviously me being a professional trader, I've brought you on, so we can see this side of you still do all that stuff. And as you said, people with kids or whatever it is, you've got to do all that stuff, and you can, and it's okay to feel like, hey, I don't actually want to do this. No point in forcing yourself to actually start trading if you're feeling like, man, I am so tired, I've just come home from whatever it is, the work, or you're being a week, 2 weeks away working, and then go, I'm going to force myself to do something. It comes a point, as you said, where you have to commit and knuckle down, but also at the same time realize that you should be out there actually doing stuff, or being with your partner, or doing activity. Otherwise you'll just end up hating Forex and you'll never come back to it. So it is really important, and I appreciate that you touch on that, that you do commit to a certain level, but also make sure that you're still actually living life and not just being a mindless drone the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. It is important to enjoy your life at the same time, but it's keep coming back to it's a new skill and you've got to spend the time. Really, it's not a matter of knuckling down and doing a whole day's work on it. It's just consistency. Just those little 1%. You carry on, for 100 days, or there's 100%. So
100%.
So however it works, for you, everyone's situation is different. So however you can make it work, just give it your best shot. Yeah. Don't bring yourself down. Don't give up. I'd say if something is deterring you, so just being on a diet, sometimes you just want to go eat that cheeseburger, and then you're like, shit, all right, better get back on that diet. Just like this, sometimes you just want to go out and just hang out with your friends and your family. All right, well, I'll spend next week actually trying to do it. So as long as it's important to you, you'll keep trying to do it.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the cool things that you picked up here, and I think you read some, maybe they're not called self-help books, but things to, progress yourself. I can't remember what they're called, I've gone blank, but I did hear that, if you're just 1% better each and every day, by the end of the year, it's something like a 30% increase from the last year, or 33, or something ridiculous like that, which may seem really small, but you're 1/3 better than you were last year, which you look at it, it's huge. And if you just do that for 1 year to 2 years to 3 years, you get there. And obviously for me, on my own personal journey, it took me a really long time until I found a mentor, and he was like, hey, you're doing
it takes ages.
Yeah, it takes
it's
a
anything.
long time.
It's just one of the things about growing up as well. You kind of start to understand life in your late 20s, and then you also start to understand yourself a bit more, and then from there, they always say your 20s is where you have fun, and your 30s is where to set you up for life, to build that wealth.
Yeah.
And so you're already starting early to get into it, so which is really good, but you'll start building up that wealth over the next 10, 15 years or so now. So 100%. If you just commit to it, it's one of those things, you just got to keep having a crack, really.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So have you read any, self-help books or personal development, whatever you want to call it, that, you could recommend to anyone here that's actually helped you out?
To be honest, I actually haven't read any for quite a while. I read a lot online, and, obviously you've got TikTok, so it's so easy to get that sort of information and see I guess different people's views on things and understanding. I listen to, I don't really read too many self-help books, but I would like to get a few. But I am listening to a podcast lately that It's been really good. So really informative. Talks about a whole lot of different views on like all types of things to do with life. That's the podcast is called On Purpose with Jay Shetty.
Okay.
So
Oh, I think I've heard of that. I think I've heard that bloke. Yeah.
really good, really good. So like, I just pick and choose which ones I like, but he has some real good guests on there. He jumps on other people's podcasts as well. Like he's just, I don't know, he's just got like his life worked out like perfectly, and it's not like he's done everything exactly by the book either. Like he talks about how he went after high school. He was like going through college and stuff, and his friend dragged him along to listen to this monk talk, and he just found it so fascinating. So long story short, he ended up spending 3 years with the monks after college, just lived with them for 3 years, and then he came back to society after that. And just like it's a crazy life story. It's really interesting, and just he's just one of those people that gives you kind of that self-help now. So
Okay.
yeah, that's probably my biggest one I'm listening to at the moment, or like I'd advise to get onto for sure.
Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. Well, on that, we'll start to close it out soon after this. But I guess in terms of Forex and what your goals are, especially someone who works like 9 to 5, in the coming years, like what are your goals? What are your expectations when it comes to this? Do you have like anything in sight right now?
Oh, definitely. So I'm constantly, looking at my 5-year plan of what's going to happen, and just like anyone should. So every year it kind of gets, I'd say, updated, and I see what's going to be the next 5 years. And it's quite a fluid, I guess, thing. Like things change all the time, so it's always good to kind of have, like, I guess, goals in sight. And mine are like, once I got into this, is to pretty much, I guess, this will become a side income, but hopefully becomes a main income in 5 to 10 years, and I can actually reduce my work hours.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to, do that. As we said, I work, 7 days, 84 hours in a week. Like it's big weeks, and then I do have the week off. But if I could, reduce that down to work, less hours and be earning just as good income, if not more, as the portfolio grows, like that would be the biggest goal. Like I sit back now and I calculate, oh, what if I had a $1 million portfolio and I was doing like a couple of percentages a week? Like it'd be tens of thousands of dollars you're making in a week, which is just amazing to me. And again, that does take a long time, but the aspect of being able to do that, I'm so interested in. And the way I looked at it as well, the only way, or the only stop sign or speed hump that I really am currently hitting is myself. And I just find that, and it does come down to time and effort and commitment, but the only real hurdle I have is myself. And to be able to get over the small things like that, to be able to actually, all right, go commit to this, spend my time doing that, you're helping your future self out. That's how I see it. So that's probably the biggest goal to that, to just, be able to not have like financial freedom and to have a passive income. Like I'd be bored if I had passive income. I can tell that right now.
100%.
Like I love technical stuff. I love getting into the nitty gritty of how things work, and so how trading works. Like, I think there's so much there to learn and explore. And you're teaching a great strategy, which is awesome. And I hope you can either develop another one, or we can in the future like look at others to explore and see what works. So then again, you've got another way to look at the charts.
100%.
So they're kind of my 5 year goals, to just slowly get better at this and start earning some proper money with it along the way. But I'd just like to touch on again, like, Rome wasn't built in a day, and you're not going to be able to master this in a week. So for those out there who are listening or watching, like, don't expect that. Don't jump on board just trying to make a quick dollar. It will take time. And if you're not a person who can sit there, say for an hour every couple of days or so, or make time to actually do this, I'd say try and find something else. It really isn't for you. But for all those out there that are willing to put in the effort, like, Godspeed, son, and good luck.
I love that. Well, that's fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you answering all these questions, Knoxy. I know you're a busy man, so I'd like to thank you for that.
You're more than welcome. I'm glad to be here. So I guess I'll talk to you soon, mate.
You will. Well, I hope you really enjoyed that, guys. Again, it was really good for me to get that insight into what Knoxy thinks as a beginner, all those really cool things that he said. And I especially just want to touch on the points, even though we went over it quite a few times. It's just that dedication. It's just really getting down, committing to something, having the discipline to go through it. Unfortunately, it looks like there's no easy way to make it to a Forex trader, but we all already knew that, is what I should be saying there without muddling my words. We all already knew that. You and I both, right? So it's here. The journey's here. You set out on the journey. You might be like Knoxy and going, oh, can I do it? You now know it's not all sunshine and rainbows. But even a man that's sitting there going, hey, I'm off 2-3 weeks working 40 plus hours in the week, 50 plus, 60 plus, who knows, right? Can't remember what he said exactly. But you can do it. You just have to persevere. And if you get through that, I know Knoxy's goals are a little bit different, but have it in a career. Cut back down those hours. Spend more time with your family. The only way you're going to be able to do that is all the things that Knoxy was saying there. Managing that work-life balance. Understanding that it's okay sometimes to just be like, I can't be arsed. I just need to sit back and take a few days. It's going to be a longer road for you guys, but it's going to be a fantastic one once you get to the end of it. The rewards are there. Discipline, action. You'll need a whole boatload of motivation. But if you commit to it, guys, as Knoxy said, you have that perseverance, you will get through to it. I'm sure he's got a lot of other golden nuggets in there, but I just really wanted to capture that. Anyway, I'm not going to go over and drag this on more than it has to. Really appreciate you listening to it, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, guys. See ya.